She's so fine. Helluva, blows my mind. Helluva, lights my day.
What's good, guys? Today is Sunday, November the 8th, 2020. Doing a little research in the Kenneka Jenkins case, and specifically in the Rosemont area. When I rolled upon this article out of Patch, and specifically from their crime and safety section, and thought it was interesting enough to share. It's titled, Sex Trafficking Operation Run by Polish Immigrants Busted, Feds. The men accused of running the, quote, Norridge Girls prostitution ring complained that the pandemic cut into their $40,000 a month profits. $40,000 a month in profits from this Norwich Girls prostitution ring. Let me tell you something. This is what I know. Anybody that's bringing in $40,000 a month in profits on a prostitution ring, look, they are not playing about their money. These people are not playing, okay? Chicago. A pair of undocumented Polish immigrants charged with running a prostitution ring complained in a recorded conversation about how the spread of the virus had disrupted their sex trafficking operation, authorities said. What an outlandish claim. The two men ran what was known as the, quote, Norridge Girls prostitution operation, which involved arranging for the arrival of a rotating roster of sex workers from Poland, Russia, Ukraine, and the Czech Republic, according to federal investigators. Now look here, I'm not going to be real good with these names, so I'm probably just going to use the first name. Marcin, also known as Rafal, was arrested February the 14th at O'Hare International Airport. The same day, immigration officials intercepted and turned back a pair of women suspected of working in his prostitution scheme that he had allegedly been waiting to pick up. I think I can handle this last name. So this Marcin Siborowski, who had been held ever since at the McHenry County Jail, has been arrested at least 5 times in 4 states, including twice in Illinois, according to the feds. His most recent arrest was a 2016 DUI charge in Illinois. Authorities said he has been held in administrative custody pending his removal to Poland, which had been delayed by the cancellation of flights due to the pandemic. He was previously deported in 2002, but arrested again in 2005 after illegally re-entering the country, prosecutors said. Siborowski told investigators he last entered the country around 2010 after paying $7,000 to a Polish smuggling organization to illegally bring him over the U.S.-Mexico border, and then bought someone else's genuine identity cards for $2,000 from a person he believed had a contact at the Illinois Secretary of State's office, and then managed to obtain a commercial driver's license under the assumed name that he had just purchased for $2,000, according to the federal prosecutors. So let's back it up. He entered the country in 2010 after giving $7,000 to someone of Polish descent to smuggle him over the border, the U.S.-Mexico border. He spent $2,000 getting someone else's identity, and it says he was believed to have a contact at the Secretary of State's office of Illinois, which is definitely not far-fetched, consider all of the corruption going on in Illinois. Then he got his CDLs under that same assumed name. Investigators learned more about the scheme, which operated out of the northwest side of Chicago and several northwest suburbs, including Arlington Heights, Elk Grove Village, and Rosemont. by reviewing online postings on prostitution-focused forums, according to an affidavit from Oleg Sokolov, special agent with Homeland Security Investigations. Their online advertisement shared common language, including the phrase, quote, "No African American guys," end quote. After comparing online prostitution ads with travel records, agents identified a dozen suspected Norridge Girl escorts and began interviewing them upon their arrival or departure from the country, the affidavit said. Several of these women admitted working for the operation and said recruiters had led them to believe they were getting involved with a high-end escort business that involved, quote, travel, gentlemen, yachts, and hotels, end quote. But in reality, they found themselves working 12-hour days with up to 10 clients, Sokolov said. The leaders of the scheme would take half of their proceeds and occasionally take them to buy groceries or to wire money back to Europe. One woman said she had been beaten at least 10 times by clients who demanded to have sex without a condom. She gave investigators photos showing her with a bloody nose and bruises, saying the ringleaders of the scheme never did anything to physically abuse clients, and warned her against reporting the beatings to police, according to Sokolov's 93-page affidavit. 93-page affidavit. Wow. Another woman told investigators that she believed the ringleaders were able to stay operational for more than 8 years at a location in this 7500 block of West Belmont Avenue by paying off local police, the agent said. The operator of a shop on the ground floor of the building was aware of the ongoing prostitution business. Starting the day after his Valentine's Day arrest at O'Hare, Siborowski began placing phone calls on a prison phone system to a fellow accused sex trafficker to discuss the details of their prostitution business, according to the affidavit. The phone calls were in Polish and were recorded and translated by authorities. Let's see. Mariusz Daniluk, who has been charged alongside Siborowski with one count of conspiracy to import, quote, employ or harbor in any house or other place aliens for the purpose of prostitution or for any other immoral purpose, end quote, continued to operate the Norwich Girl ring after another alleged accomplice, Rafał Surala, was deported back to Poland in November of 2019, and after Siborowski was arrested in February, according to federal prosecutors. One of the sex workers told investigators she believes Siborowski was the boss of the operation, according to the affidavit. She said she believed he, quote, did bad things in Poland, end quote, such as, quote, cut fingers off, end quote. She told agents she was scared to talk about more about Siborowski or Surala out of fear for what they might do to her or her family, and she believed both were involved in organized crime. Like Siborowski, Daniluk did not have lawful status in the U.S., according to authorities. He was living in the northwest suburbs after having been released on bond for immigration violations. These two guys just apparently aren't real sharp. Not real swift. Talking on a prison phone about their prostitution ring. The two men were recorded discussing their declining prostitution business after the pandemic had spread through the Chicago area, the affidavit said, quote, nothing, man, zero, expletive. Responses, end quote, Daniluk said in mid-March. Quote, expletive, what the expletive is this? Since the morning they're talking about this virus, expletives, plural, end quote, Siborowski said from inside the jail in Woodstock. At one point, they allegedly spoke of the possibility of one of their workers having contracted the disease. Quote, I don't know what expletive, fever, cough, etc., end quote, Daniluk said. Quote, let's hope it's not that. Expletive, end quote. Siborowski responded. Quote, I don't know. I can't tell you since yesterday. End quote, Daniluk said. Quote, yeah, and if one is sick, the rest might be sick as well, end quote, Siborowski said. Quote, I don't know what it is, end quote, Daniluk said. Quote, expletive, you can't get her out, expletive, checked out. You can't get her, expletive, checked out, end quote, Siborowski asked. Quote, well, I can, but getting it checked out now, as you know, end quote, Daniluk said. On March the 16th, Daniluk complained about having to go to 4 stores to buy 3 packages of toilet paper. Quote, how's the sick one? End quote, Siborowski asked. Quote, the sick one is better, end quote, Daniluk said. Quote, so that means it's not the virus, end quote, Siborowski said. So I really didn't quote that one, but I wasn't going to say that word. Quote, but I did not go inside, end quote, Daniluk said. Quote, well, no. Why the expletive would you? End quote, Siborowski said. Federal investigators estimated that the Norridge Girls ringleaders generated about $40,000 a month in revenue before all of this hit. They converted the cash into cryptocurrencies and bought expensive luxury vehicles, authorities said. But like many Illinois business owners, they said that the pandemic had cut their profits to, quote, zero, end quote, and in transcripts of a translated phone call, worried their operation was not generating enough cash to pay the bills after Governor J.B. Pritzker's March 20th stay-at-home order shuttered non-essential operations. Quote, I know, yeah, end quote, Siborowski said. Quote, I'm wondering how long this will, expletive, last still, end quote. Quote, I don't have a clue, end quote, Daniluk said. It's just unreal that these guys are having this conversation on this prison phone about sick Norridge Girls members, if you will, in their prostitution ring. And then having to complain that they've got to go to several stores to get toilet paper when that was like one of the worst things that you could find, or one of the hardest things you could find during that time. I mean, just not the brightest, and it's crazy to me because these guys are not playing. You heard what the girl said. Go back and read it one more again here. Okay. She said she believed he, quote, did bad things in Poland, end quote, such as, quote, cut fingers off, end quote. These people don't play. So, I just wanted to bring this article to kind of show you what's been going on in Rosemont within the last year anyways. And there ain't nothing that's changed. It's the same old song and dance there. So, I'm going to continue doing my research on Rosemont and every other aspect of this case that I feel like I need to look at. And that's really all I got right now. But I thank you guys for watching. You guys have a good night. Be easy.